Mention the name Curtiss-Wright earth-moving machinery to someone today and they will probably give you a blank stare. However, Curtiss-Wright was a company with a very long history, being originally founded in July 1929. Pictured in better times, this is a genuine Wooldridge Terra Cobra motor scraper, one of the flagship machines in the Wooldridge range of equipment before Curtiss-Wright took over, and a predecessor of the CW-27. As can be seen, it is not particularly pretty and is all cable controlled. The colorized image of one of the first production Wooldridge T70 Cobret motor scrapers. Curtiss-Wright took over the entire Wooldridge range in June 1958 and set about renaming all the former Wooldridge products. Thus, the T70 became the CW-27, a nod to the 7 cubic yard strut rating of the machine. A Wooldridge factory image of a T70 Cobret that shows the roto-gear steering motors clearly at the top of the machine's articulation hitch. These were quite advanced for the day, a little too advanced, as they gave a lot of trouble in service. The front push plate for push loading other scrapers is also well shown, and a concept some 20 years ahead of the idea being adopted by other manufacturers. An illustration from the first brochure issued by Curtiss-Wright about its new scraper range. This is a CW-27, and at this point Curtiss-Wright had not added sideboarding to the scrapers, bowl turning it into a CW-28. The cab was an optional extra, and the operator's seat is rigidly mounted. An interesting and colorized photo of two T70 Cobrets, one push loading the other with an additional track type tractor pushing at the rear. This is years before push-pull and twin hitch loading, so Mac Wooldridge certainly had a few good ideas up his sleeve. The mufflers are also noteworthy, as most of the machinery at the time had straight unmuffled engine exhausts. One of New Zealand roadmakers Curtiss-Wright CW-28s gets top-loaded with gravel by an international TD6 track loader, while another unit waits to be loaded. Location, Auckland, early 1960s. Curtiss-Wright also offered the bowl of the CW-28 motor scraper as a dedicated towed scraper called the CW-T8. It held 8 cubic yards struck and 10 cubic yards heaped. It is not known how many of these Curtiss-Wright built, but it cannot have been many, as serial number records are only in place for 2 years, 1958 to 1960. The earthly remains of one of New Zealand roadmakers Curtiss-Wright CW-28 motor scrapers, converted to a towed scraper by butchering off the tractor unit and adding a draw beam. The machine's original saddle and final drive casings are still in place. The image taken at the yard of R.J. Marsh, Whitford, Auckland, 1982. Yes, that's a Model C Turner crane in the background. Photographed during a smoko break on the Auckland motorway job in the early 1960s. This Curtiss-Wright CW-28 has had its roto gear steering removed and replaced with a more conventional steering system, using a couple of hydraulic cylinders and some multiplier linkage a la Caterpillar, making it far more reliable. The CW-28 is New Zealand roadmakers fleet number 6. As mentioned, currently there are no models of any Curtiss-Wright earth movers currently available in any scale. The model shown is a Wooldridge OS 400 cable scraper, behind an MRS Model 250 tractor unit. Wooldridge had been supplying MRS with scraper bowls, but when Curtiss-Wright took over the company, they terminated the agreement. This model is from my collection as 1/50th scale.